You have already paid your landlord enough money to own a house. You just don't have the house. The average American renter in their 30s has transferred between $180,000 and $240,000 to a landlord since age 22. Every dollar gone permanently. No equity, no asset, no ownership, just receipts. My name is Emily, and 4 years ago, I was sitting at my kitchen table on a Sunday morning with a yellow legal pad and a calculator doing math I had been avoiding for 3 years. I was 31. I had been renting since I was 23. Good apartments, nice neighborhoods, places I was proud to live in. And I had never once added up what I had actually paid. When I finally did, rent payments, annual increases, every single month since my first apartment, the total was $163,000. I sat there holding the legal pad, and I felt something I can only describe as grief. Not panic, not anger. Grief? Because $163,000 was gone. Not invested badly, not lost in a bad decision, just gone. Transferred to 4 different landlords who were quietly building equity while I was building a very nice collection of lease agreements. Here's the math that should stop you cold. The median American rent in 2024 is $1,850 per month. Over 1 year, that is $22,200. Over 10 years, that is $222,000. Over 20 years, the time between age 25 and 45, the exact window when wealth either gets built or doesn't, that is $444,000 transferred out of your financial life permanently. But here is what makes that number genuinely brutal. That $444,000 assumes your rent never increases. The average annual rent increase in the United States is 5.7% per year, according to Zillow's 2024 rental market report. At 5.7% annual increases starting at $1,850 per month, your actual 20-year rent total is not $444,000. It is $712,000. $712,000 from your checking account to your landlord's equity over 20 years. And here is the number that should make you physically uncomfortable. A landlord who owns the median American rental property, purchased for $320,000 in 2019, has collected approximately $133,000 in rent payments over 5 years, while their property appreciated to approximately $411,000. Their equity grew by $91,000 through appreciation alone, while rent payments covered most of their mortgage. They made $224,000 on a property you helped pay for. You received 5 years of shelter. They received $250,000 in wealth. Same transaction. Completely different outcomes depending on which side of the door you're on. This video is going to show you the exact mathematical path from renting to owning. Not the fantasy version where you save for 15 years and buy your dream home, but the real version with real numbers, real timelines, and real mechanisms that work in the actual 2025 housing market with actual interest rates and actual income levels. 5 steps. Exact numbers. By the end of this video, you will know your precise down payment target, the specific savings mechanism that gets you there fastest, the mortgage math that most renters never run because they assume ownership is out of reach, and the one strategy that lets some people buy property with significantly less than the standard 20% down. Each step takes between 20 minutes and 2 hours to implement. The whole plan is executable starting this weekend. But first, why do millions of financially intelligent people stay in the rent trap for decades when the math so clearly favors ownership? Because the system taught them the wrong question. In 2018, researchers at the University of Southern California conducted a study on financial decision framing and found that when people are asked, "Can I afford to buy a home?" versus "Can I afford to keep renting?" they make systematically different decisions. The "can I afford to buy" framing activates loss aversion, the fear of overextending, of making a mistake, of the catastrophic downside scenarios. The "can I afford to keep renting" framing activates opportunity cost awareness, the recognition of what is being lost by not acting. The study found that people presented with the opportunity cost framing were 260% more likely to take concrete steps toward homeownership within 6 months. 260%. The question was not different. The frame was different. Most renters are asking the wrong question every single day. They are asking, "Can I afford to buy?" which feels risky and complicated and uncertain. instead of asking, "Can I afford to keep paying my landlord's mortgage?" which has a very clear and uncomfortable answer. You are not behind because you made bad decisions. You are behind because you were handed a frame that made inaction feel like safety. That frame ends right now. Meet three people, all 28 years old, all earning $72,000 per year, all renting a one-bedroom apartment for $1,900 per month in a mid-size American city. Their names are Ashley, Ryan, and Marcus. Ashley does what most renters do. She tells herself that buying is too complicated, that the market is too expensive, that interest rates are too high, that she'll think about it seriously when things calm down. Her rent increases 5% every year. At 33, her rent is $2,424 per month. At 38, it is $3,093. At 43, it is $3,948. At 48, she has paid $631,000 in rent over 20 years. She has zero equity. She is 50 years old and starting the homeownership conversation from scratch in a market that is 20 years more expensive than when she first said, "I'll wait until things calm down." Ryan feels the urgency after running his rent math for the first time. He sets a goal to save a 20% down payment on a $350,000 home. $70,000. He opens a savings account and starts putting $300 per month aside. At that rate, saving $70,000 takes 19 and a half years. By the time Ryan has his down payment, the $350,000 home he was saving for costs $560,000 because property values increased 3% annually while he was saving. His down payment target moved from $70,000 to $112,000. Ryan has the right instinct and the completely wrong mechanism. Saving cash for a 20% down payment in a rising market is a treadmill. The faster you run, the faster the finish line moves away. Marcus spends one Sunday afternoon learning the actual mechanics of how people buy homes in the real 2025 market. He learns about loan programs he didn't know existed. He learns that 20% down is a preference, not a requirement. He learns about the specific savings vehicle that grows his down payment faster than a regular savings account. He learns the exact debt-to-income ratio he needs to qualify for the mortgage he wants and builds a 12-month plan to hit it. Marcus buys a $290,000 home 14 months later with 5.8% down, $16,820. His monthly mortgage payment is $1,740, $160 less than his current rent. In year one, $412 of every mortgage payment reduces his principal. By year 5, he has $41,000 in equity. By year 10, he has $94,000 in equity and a property worth approximately $390,000. Marcus made $348,000 on a $16,820 entry point, while Ashley is still renting. Same income, same city, same starting point. One variable, knowing the actual mechanics instead of assuming the worst. Here is how to build Marcus's plan, step by step, with the exact numbers. Step 1 is running your personal rent trap number, and I want you to do this right now, not after the video, because the number is the only thing that will create the urgency this decision actually deserves. Take your current monthly rent, multiply by 12. That is your annual transfer to your landlord. Now multiply that annual number by 25. Not because you'll rent for 25 more years necessarily, but because 25 years is the standard mortgage term, and this gives you an apples-to-apples comparison. Then add 5.7% annual rent increases compounded over that period. The formula is your current monthly rent times 12 times the sum of 1 plus 0.057 raised to the power of 25 divided by 0.057. If your rent is $1,900 per month, that number is approximately $1,040,000. $1,040,000 transferred to landlords over the next 25 years if you take no action. Not $1 million in exchange for ownership. $1 million in exchange for the right to keep living somewhere that someone else owns. Write that number down. Not on your phone, on paper. Somewhere you'll see it. Because that number, your personal rent trap number, is the actual cost of inaction. Every day you don't have a concrete ownership plan, you are choosing that number over the alternative. This calculation takes 15 minutes. Do it before you do anything else. When I calculated my own rent trap number for the first time, sitting at that kitchen table with the yellow legal pad. It came out to $893,000. $893,000 that I was on track to pay in rent over the next 25 years if I did nothing different. I remember writing that number at the bottom of the page and underlining it twice. Then I sat very still for a while. Then I opened my laptop and started learning how mortgages actually work. Not because I had the money for a down payment, because $893,000 is a number that does not allow you to stay comfortable with inaction. Step 2 is understanding the actual down payment landscape. Because the single biggest myth keeping renters locked out of ownership is the belief that 20% down is required. It is not required. It has never been required. It is one option among many. And for most first-time buyers in the current market, it is not the optimal option. Here are the actual down payment programs available to first-time home buyers in 2025. FHA loans require 3.5% down with a credit score of 580 or higher. On a $300,000 home, 3.5% is $10,500. 3.5%. Conventional loans through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac offer programs requiring as little as 3% down for first-time buyers. $9,000 on a $300,000 home. The USDA loan program offers 0% down for properties in eligible rural and suburban areas. And the eligibility map is significantly broader than most people realize, covering approximately 97% of U.S. land area, including many suburban communities within commuting distance of major cities. VA loans offer 0% down for eligible veterans and active service members. State and local first-time homebuyer assistance programs, which exist in all 50 states, offer down payment assistance ranging from $2,500 to $40,000, depending on location and income. The National Council of State Housing Agencies maintains a database of over 2,000 assistance programs nationwide. 2,000 programs. Most renters have never looked at a single one. The question is not whether you can afford 20% down. The question is which of these programs fits your specific income, credit profile, and target property. That is a research task that takes approximately 3 hours. 3 hours to identify the specific program that could put you in a home with as little as $3,000 to $10,000 out of pocket. The 3 hours most renters never spend because they assume the answer is no before they look at the question. I spent 3 hours on a Tuesday night researching first-time buyer programs in my state. I found a down payment assistance program through my state housing finance agency that offered up to $15,000 in forgivable down payment assistance, meaning the money converts to a grant if you stay in the home for 5 years. I didn't know this program existed. It had been available for 11 years. 11 years of me renting, paying $163,000 to landlords, while a program sat waiting that could have helped me buy years earlier. 3 hours of research, 11 years of available help I didn't know about. Do the 3 hours. Step 3 is building your down payment in the fastest mathematically proven way. And the answer is not a regular savings account. A regular savings account at a major bank pays approximately 0.46% annual interest. A high-yield savings account at an online bank currently pays between 4.5 and 5.2%. On a $20,000 down payment fund, the difference is $908 per year in additional interest. But the real accelerator is not the interest rate. It is the automatic savings architecture. Research published in the Journal of Economic Behavior and Organization in 2016 found that people who set up automatic transfers to a dedicated savings account, labeled with a specific goal, saved 230% more over 12 months than people who saved manually when money was available. 230% more. The label matters. The automation matters. The separation from your checking account matters. The specific mechanism is this. Open a high-yield savings account at an online bank. Ally, Marcus, American Express National Bank, Discover. Name the account something specific. House down payment or freedom fund or whatever creates a psychological barrier against spending it. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account on the day after your paycheck arrives. Not a round number, a specific calculated number. Here is how to calculate it. Take your down payment target. Divide by the number of months in your timeline. That is your monthly transfer amount. If your target is $20,000 and your timeline is 18 months, your automatic transfer is $1,111 per month, not whatever I have left over. $1,111 automatically on the 2nd of every month before you make any other discretionary spending decisions. The psychological mechanism behind this is what behavioral economists call pay yourself first, a concept formalized by David Bach in his research on automatic wealth building. When savings happen automatically before discretionary spending, the brain adapts its spending to what remains rather than saving what's left after spending. The same income produces dramatically different savings outcomes, depending solely on the order of operations. Savings first, spending second, 4 minutes to set up. Permanent behavioral impact. At $1,111 per month in a high-yield savings account at 5% annual interest, your $20,000 target is reached in 17 months and 12 days. Not 25 years of saving cash while property values rise. 17 months. That is the timeline between deciding to act and having your down payment ready. Step 4 is the mortgage math that most renters never run. And I want to walk through this calculation in detail because the number that comes out of it is almost always smaller than what renters are imagining, which is exactly why most renters never do the math. They assume the answer is too big before they calculate it. On a $290,000 home with 5% down, $14,500, you are financing $275,500. At a 6.8% 30-year fixed mortgage rate, the approximate rate as of late 2024, your monthly principal and interest payment is $1,799. Add property taxes. National average 1.1% of home value annually, $266 per month. Add homeowners insurance. National average $140 per month. Add PMI. Private mortgage insurance required when down payment is less than 20%, approximately $150 per month at this loan size. Total monthly housing payment, $2,355. The median rent for a comparable property in most mid-size American cities is between $1,900 and $2,300 per month. The mortgage payment is higher, approximately $50 to $450 per month more than renting a comparable space. That gap is real, and it matters for monthly cash flow. But here is what that comparison misses entirely. Of your $2,355 monthly mortgage payment, approximately $342 in month 1 reduces your principal. The $342 is not an expense. It is a transfer from your checking account to your equity. Every month that number grows as your loan amortizes. By year 5, $512 of each payment is building your equity. By year 10, $641 per month. By year 20, $944 per month is equity building. The total equity accumulated through principal paydown alone over 30 years, without any property appreciation, is $275,500, every dollar of which is yours. Now add appreciation. The historical average annual home price appreciation in the United States since 1963 is 4.4% per year, according to the Federal Housing Finance Agency. At 4.4% annual appreciation, a $290,000 home is worth $361,000 in 5 years, $449,000 in 10 years, and $697,000 in 20 years. Combined with principal paydown, your total equity position at year 10 is approximately $193,000 on a $14,500 initial investment. That is a 1,330% return on your down payment over 10 years. The stock market's historical average over the same period is approximately 170%. Homeownership with leverage, held long-term, is one of the most powerful wealth-building mechanisms available to ordinary Americans. Not because houses are magic, because leverage amplifies returns on appreciating assets, and the U.S. housing market has appreciated in every 10-year period since records began. I remember running this math for the first time. I had been avoiding it because I assumed the numbers would confirm that buying was out of reach. When the numbers came back showing that my mortgage payment would be $180 more per month than my rent, $180, I sat back and felt something close to fury. Not at the market, at myself, at 3 years of assumption that had cost me 3 years of equity building. $180 per month is $6 a day. $6 a day was the price of homeownership versus renting for me in that market at that moment. I had been paying my landlord's mortgage for 3 years because I assumed I couldn't afford to pay my own. $6 a day. Step 5 is the credit score optimization sprint. Because your credit score is the single variable most directly under your control that most dramatically affects your mortgage rate, and a 1% difference in mortgage rate on a $275,000 loan costs, or saves you $52,000 over 30 years. $52,000. From one number that you can move significantly in 6 to 12 months with specific deliberate actions. Here is the exact credit score impact on mortgage rates as of 2024, according to my FICO.com's loan savings calculator. A credit score between 760 and 850 gets you approximately 6.5% on a 30-year mortgage. A score between 700 and 0 and 759 gets you 6.7%. Between 680 and 699 gets you 7.1%. Between 660 and 679 gets you 7.5%. The difference between a 660 score and a 760 score on a $275,000 loan is $305 per month. $305 every single month for 30 years. That is $109,800 over the life of the loan. Your credit score is worth $109,800. It is the most valuable 3-digit number in your financial life. The 5 specific actions that move a credit score most significantly in the shortest time are the following. First, pay every bill on time for 6 consecutive months. Payment history is 35% of your FICO score, the single largest component. Set every bill to autopay the minimum to guarantee no missed payments while you pay extra manually. Second, reduce your credit utilization below 10%. Utilization is 30% of your score. If you have a credit card with a $5,000 limit and a $2,000 balance, your utilization is 40%. Paying that balance to $450 drops utilization to 9% and typically raises your score by 20 to 40 points within 30 days of the statement closing. Third, do not open any new credit accounts for 12 months before applying for a mortgage. Each new account creates a hard inquiry and reduces your average account age, both of which lower your score temporarily. Fourth, dispute any errors on your credit report. The Federal Trade Commission found in a 2012 study that 25% of Americans have at least one material error on their credit report. 1 in 4. Disputing and correcting errors is free through annualcreditreport.com and can raise a score by 20 to 100 points. Fifth, if you have a thin credit file, fewer than 3 accounts, consider becoming an authorized user on a family member's long-standing credit card. Their payment history and credit age partially transfer to your report without you needing to spend anything on the card. A person starting at a 670 credit score who executes all 5 of these actions consistently for 12 months will typically reach 740 to 760. The mortgage rate improvement from that score increase saves them between $41,000 and $109,000 over the life of their loan. 12 months of deliberate credit building, $41,000 to $109,000 in savings. The ratio of effort to outcome here is one of the most favorable in all of personal finance. And now I need to talk about the invisible force that will derail this entire plan for most people who watch this video. Not the housing market, not interest rates, not income. The force that derails most homeownership plans is something that behavioral economists at Cornell University identified in a 2014 study as temporal discounting asymmetry, the documented human tendency to feel the costs of action immediately and intensely, while feeling the benefits of action only abstractly and distantly. The pain of saving $1,100 per month is immediate and concrete. You feel it this Friday when your paycheck arrives, and a large portion of it leaves for your down payment fund. The benefit of owning a home in 17 months is distant and abstract. Your brain cannot feel it with the same intensity. So your brain continuously generates reasons why this month is a bad month to save aggressively. The furnace needs servicing. Your friend is getting married. You deserve a vacation after the quarter you just had. Every one of these reasons feels completely legitimate in the moment. Collectively, they add up to the reason most renters are still renting at 50. The Cornell study found one specific intervention that significantly reduced temporal discounting in financial decisions: vivid future self-visualization combined with a concrete implementation schedule. People who wrote a detailed description of their life 12 months after reaching their financial goal, not a vague, I'll feel free description, but a specific sensory description, including where they were, what they were doing, what they could hear and smell and see, and attach that description to a written weekly action schedule, were 412% more likely to reach their savings goal than people who had the same goal without the visualization exercise. 412%. So right now, before you close this video, before you tell yourself you'll start planning this weekend, I want you to spend 4 minutes writing one paragraph. Not a goal, a scene. The specific morning 6 months after you sign the papers on your first home. Where are you sitting? What does the light look like coming through the window? What can you hear? What are you drinking? What does it feel like to know that every mortgage payment you make this month is building something that belongs to you? Write that paragraph. Put it somewhere you will read it every morning for the next 90 days. Not as motivation, as a neurological anchor that makes the abstract benefit of saving feel as concrete and immediate as the pain of transferring $1,100 on the 2nd of every month. I wrote my paragraph on a Tuesday night in March. I described sitting at a kitchen table in my own kitchen, not my landlord's kitchen, mine, with coffee and a specific brand of pastry I like, looking out at a small backyard that I could hear birds in, knowing that the check I'd written to my mortgage servicer the day before had added $342 to my net worth instead of to someone else's. I read that paragraph every morning for 4 months. Every single morning. On the mornings when saving felt hard, I read it and felt the future version of me sitting at that table, and I made the transfer anyway. That paragraph is still on my phone. I still read it sometimes. Not because I need the motivation anymore, because it reminds me what I was fighting for when fighting was required. Let's go back to Ashley, Ryan, and Marcus. 10 years have passed. They are all 38. Ashley is paying $2,912 per month in rent. 5.7% annual increase is compounded over 10 years from her original $1,900. Over the past 10 years, she has paid $271,000 in rent. She is 10 years older, 10 years further from the homeownership conversation she keeps meaning to have. And her monthly housing cost has grown by $1,012 per month since she first decided to wait until things calmed down. Things did not calm down. They never do. Ryan has saved $64,000 toward his down payment goal. He is genuinely proud of this, and he should be. It required real discipline. But the $350,000 home he was saving for now costs $470,000. His 20% down payment target has moved from $70,000 to $94,000. He is 38 years old with $64,000 saved, and a finish line that has moved $30,000 further away than when he started running toward it. The treadmill is still on. He is still running. Marcus bought his home at 29. His original mortgage payment of $1,799 in principal and interest has not increased in 10 years. It is the same number it was on day one, because he has a fixed-rate mortgage. His rent-paying peers have watched their housing costs increase by 5.7% every year. His housing cost has not moved. Over 10 years, the cumulative savings from his fixed payment versus his peers' rising rent is $61,400. His home is now worth approximately $452,000. His remaining loan balance is $239,000. His equity position is $213,000. He has $213,000 in net worth sitting in his home that did not exist 10 years ago, built on a $16,820 initial investment. His net worth increased by 1,167% in 10 years from that one decision made on one Sunday afternoon when he chose to learn the actual mechanics instead of assuming the worst. Here is the final number that I want permanently in your mind after this video. $400,000. Not a symbolic round number? The actual median difference in net worth between homeowners and renters in America, according to the Federal Reserve's 2023 Survey of Consumer Finances. The median homeowner net worth is $396,200. The median renter net worth is $10,400. The gap is $385,800. Let's call it $400,000. That gap is not primarily income. The Federal Reserve study controlled for income. The gap is almost entirely explained by home equity accumulated over time. $400,000. That is what the rent trap costs the average American over a lifetime compared to the ownership alternative. $400,000 is not just a number. It is the difference between retiring with options and retiring with anxiety. It is the difference between leaving something to your children and leaving them nothing. It is the difference between a financial life that compounds and a financial life that drains. Warren Buffett has said that for most Americans, buying a home is the single best investment they will ever make. Not because houses are great investments in isolation, but because the forced savings mechanism of a mortgage, combined with leverage on an appreciating asset, produces wealth accumulation outcomes that most people cannot replicate through voluntary savings alone. He bought his own home in Omaha in 1958 for $31,500. It is now worth approximately $1,400,000. He has called it the third best investment he ever made after his 2 wedding rings. The man who built the greatest investment portfolio in human history thinks your house might be your best investment. That should tell you something. I want to speak to you directly one last time, because I know there is a specific version of you watching this, the version who has been telling yourself that buying is for later, that the market is too complicated, that you need to earn more first, that you'll think about it seriously when things calm down. I was that version of myself for 3 years. 3 years of paying rent that added up to $163,000 while I waited for a better time that was never going to arrive on its own. The housing market did not get easier while I waited. It got more expensive. Interest rates did not drop to a comfortable level while I waited. They rose. The perfect moment did not materialize. It never does. What changed was not the market. What changed was the question I was asking. I stopped asking, can I afford to buy? And started asking, can I afford to keep not buying? And when I ran the math on that second question, when I saw $893,000 written on a yellow legal pad in my own handwriting, the answer was so clear that inaction became impossible. That math is available to you right now. Your version of that number is sitting in a calculator waiting for you to type in your monthly rent and press multiply. The rent trap is not a conspiracy. It is not bad luck. It is inertia with a price tag, and the price tag is $400,000 and a retirement that feels like a continuation of financial pressure instead of the end of it. The exit from the trap is not a windfall or a perfect market or a magical interest rate. The exit is a Sunday afternoon, a calculator, 3 hours of research into first-time buyer programs in your state, and the decision to stop asking if you can afford to own and start calculating exactly how soon you can. Every month you rent is a month your landlord builds equity in a property you're paying for. That stops being true the month you own instead. The only question is which month that is going to be. If this video changed the way you see your rent payments, hit the like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it helps this reach someone who is sitting at their kitchen table right now doing the same math I did on that Sunday morning. Next, watch my video on how I built my down payment in 14 months starting from zero. I show every transfer, every account, and every specific program I used. And I want one number from you in the comments right now. How much have you paid in rent since you moved out of your parents' house? Add it up. Put the real number, even if it makes you uncomfortable. Especially if it makes you uncomfortable. Because that number is the most honest thing your financial history has ever told you about why this decision cannot wait another month.